Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Garamendi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This committee has for a long time been concerned about FEMA, the way it runs and operates. There have been major efforts by the committee as a whole and by the subcommittee. I'm thinking back on much of the work done by Mr. Graves before he left Congress. Going forward, the question of whether FEMA is going to survive or not remains open. In the first week in office, President Trump talked openly about getting rid of FEMA. In March, Secretary Noem said, we're going to eliminate FEMA. In June, Trump said FEMA could be eliminated as soon as December, saying he wanted to wean off FEMA and bring it back to the state level. It's not just those words, which are not fake news, by the way. It's also what has actually happened. A third of the staff at FEMA has been eliminated in the DOGE process. So there's serious concerns, at least by me and I suspect by other members of the committee, about the future of FEMA. Is it even going to exist? Can you commit to us today that FEMA will exist in the future, will be able to carry out its functions under the law and under the needs of this nation? Or do you not know?
Thank you for the question. What I could commit to is that the president wants a better emergency management for the American people, and that's a noble goal. The president's a noble man, and that's what he wants. He wants a better emergency management capability.
Does that mean FEMA is gone and there'll be something new and different?
So in his wisdom, and with Secretary Noem and Secretary Hegseth's guide, the president has appointed a FEMA council, okay, that are going to give him recommendations.
So the answer is blowing in the wind. We do not know, and you cannot confirm, that it is the policy of the administration to maintain FEMA. I understand that. Let me move along here. A third of your staff is gone. 2,000 employees have departed for multiple reasons, some of them fired, others of them taking early retirement. It took 9 days for you to arrive in Texas following the disaster there. Is that the normal going forward? It took 3 days for your team to arrive, 9 days for you to arrive. Is that the new normal?
So as I promised the people of Texas, they would get what they needed on time and on target. And I talked to the emergency manager of Texas, and I asked him, what is the best thing I can do for you? And he said, remain on the ground and make sure that we get what we need on time. So I remained in Washington, D.C., kicking down the doors of bureaucracy.
I got it.
That's where I remained.
So the top leadership of FEMA is not expected to respond to emergencies across the nation. Instead, you're going to remain in your offices here in Washington, D.C. I got it.
I did go to Texas, and I went to Texas to confirm with the people of Texas that I had delivered on my promise.
We'll see if that delivery is real or not. The next series of questions has to do with disaster mitigation. That is, getting ahead of the disaster. You just heard from Mr. Fong about his request for funding to reduce the fire risks in his area. Certainly that exists in my area, in the Bay Area. However, that program was terminated. Even though it was started in 2018 by President Trump in his first term, it's now eliminated. So is it the policy of FEMA to rebuild that program to get ahead of the disasters and to fund disaster mitigation before it happens? What is the policy of the department?
You're speaking of the building resilience, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So it was started in 18, but under the Trump administration, that program began to be used for things like bike paths and shade at bus stops.
So instead of dealing with those specific, rather small funding programs, you decided to eliminate this entire program. Is that correct?
Well, that program, BRIC, is under litigation. I can tell you about the past, but I can't tell you anything about the future for that program. But it was being used for
That's
bike
not my
paths.
question. What is the future? Is the BRIC program is terminated? Is it the intention of FEMA to restart it? Or are we simply not going to pay attention to an effort to reduce the potential for a disaster? What is the-
Resilience is a top priority of FEMA, but that program, once again, there's litigation surrounding that program, and I'm not at liberty to speak of it.
Gentleman's time
don't-
has expired. Chair
Thank you,
thanks the
Mr.
gentleman, the chair